What's up, everybody? It's your boy. Did you know that the internet is controlled by literally 14 people, that the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or ICANN, is responsible for the very thing that makes the internet function, and they hold password change meetings called key ceremonies every 7 years in what is arguably the single most secure physical location in the world, and they create a master key, a string of numbers and or letters, which in conjunction with the 7 literal physical switches decide whether the websites and servers are accessible or if the entire thing just ceases to exist. Who are these people? Well, these guys, aka Reed from Shameless Nerd. Today's video is about 50 random thoughts that I think are interesting. Some are fun, random facts, some are tiny pieces of advice, and some are just entirely meaningless thoughts about entirely meaningless things. If you end up liking this video, please consider dropping a like and a sub. You can also click the join button to support the channel directly and join these beautiful people right here and get access to some cool stuff. All right, let's get into it. The best parking spot at a grocery store isn't the one closest to the entrance. It's the one closest to the shopping cart return. You're gonna walk further if you have to walk a longer distance to the cart return and back. The world's oldest cat lived to be 38 and a half years old. Her name was Cream Puff, and I love her. The KFC logo is supposed to be Colonel Sanders' head and necktie, but it looks like his very detailed head is perched upon a stick figure body, and once you see it, there's no going back. I am burdened with this knowledge, and now so are you. Think about the person in your life who is the most likable, like the person who you think probably has the highest approval rating among your friends and family and coworkers or whatever. Odds are that person asks a lot of questions in conversation. That's the secret key to people liking you. Ask clarifying questions. Oh, what's that like? Now, do you think that's good or is that a problem? Oh, really? Why do you think they do it like that? Quit trying to be on time. Just be early. You'll immediately alleviate like 90% of the stress of getting somewhere. You'll stop being late. Everything will be better. It is so hard to be on time. If you think about it, you're giving yourself like a window of 1 minute. Just logistically, statistically speaking, that makes no sense. So be early and it'll be so much easier, and you'll have the added benefit of not being late to work every day like I was the first 5 years of my career before I finally admitted this to myself. Get a stainless steel water bottle and take it with you everywhere you go. You'll save money. You'll inevitably be more hydrated, which is maybe the best bang for your buck like health change you can possibly make, and you'll have a great canvas to put stickers. Cows have best friends. Look into it. Oh, this is a great one. Fancy ketchup is called that because it's actually a legal distinction. Ketchup, as a vestige of the way it was introduced to the market and has evolved over time, is broken into 3 categories, legally speaking. Grade A, or fancy, which is entirely free of tomato chunks, is firmer, has a sweet and sour balance. Grade B, or extra standard, which might have some tomato bits and has more flavor variety. And grade C, or standard, which seems to not actually exist anywhere but remains as a category for whatever reason. These are set by the USDA. And relatedly, the answer to whether it's actually catsup or ketchup is even more complicated, and for the purposes of this video, I'll sum it up like this, and maybe I'll do a whole ketchup video later. Okay, it's actually catsup, but Heinz changed it to ketchup to stand out after they actually also popularized it being catsup, because it was initially ketchup, which came from ketchup, which was sometimes spelled and said like catsup, which came from the Chinese ketchup, which was sometimes spelled ketchup, or possibly the Indonesian ketchup. Literally no one knows which it is or where it came from. Nobody knows. My girlfriend taught me this one. Put 2 fitted sheets on your bed, one on top of the other. That way you protect your bed from stains when you're eating in bed and watching Severance, and you'll be able to strip and wash your sheets and still have sheets to sleep on while they're in the wash. This shit like blew my mind. If you have a friend or a loved one who you love but who talks a lot and doesn't take the hint, answer the phone, but anytime you answer, or maybe not every time, but a lot of the time you answer, start by saying, "Hey, my phone's almost dead." And then you can literally just hang up on them whenever you want, and they'll feel special that you answered the phone in the first place. This one's a little bit mean, but it's like a win-win as long as they don't know, or as long as they haven't also seen this video. Read the book Abundance by Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. There's no fact or thought here, it's just the best book that I've read in a long, long time. I recently pressure washed my house and my driveway, and it took about 5.5 hours. I did the whole thing without listening to music or a podcast, and at the risk of sounding like an insane person or an addict and being unrelatable, I think a lot of people would probably not, do that. I would never do that, and I only did it by accident, but then I got so lost in my thoughts and hypothetical arguments in my head and the weird meditative state that I drifted into that I just kept going. And after doing it, I think that's really important, especially if you're a stimulus addict like me and you're constantly listening to podcasts while doing chores and stuff, to do stuff in silence, at least on occasion, as a change of pace. I felt like noticeably different and really good, and I think there's probably something there on like a neurochemical, like dopamine level, and that's kind of scary to me. I don't know. Japan has the most vending machines per capita in the entire world, one for 23 people, which is an astronomical number if you think about it. The US, second in the world, has one vending machine for every 66 people. I don't know what this means, but it feels significant. Your brain works on problems with almost equal efficiency in the subconscious as it does in your conscious awareness. So if you truly get stuck on a problem and you really want to solve it, just go do something else. You'll come back to it with a head start that your brain gave you without realizing that it's giving you a head start. Sometimes you'll come back to it and all of a sudden the problem is like easy all of a sudden and you don't know why. That's because your brain is working on it while you're doing other stuff. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand, and in as little as 3 months, you'll find that all of a sudden your useless non-dominant hand is no longer useless. Competitive art used to be an Olympic sport. The tiny pocket in your jeans is for pocket watches. I have wondered my whole life what that stupid ass tiny pocket is for. It's for pocket watches. Why do they still put it there? After you watch this video, put your phone down or get up from the TV and walk outside. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. or if it's raining, just walk outside for like 2 minutes. The 5-minute rule for procrastination. If you can do a task like making your bed, cleaning up your car, or something else in under 5 minutes, instead of waiting or planning on doing it later, just do it. Eat more protein and fiber and you'll be less likely to snack, satiating your hunger and making you less grumpy and helping you lose weight. Is it read receipts or read receipts? Like, obviously it doesn't really matter, but I couldn't find this anywhere and I've always wondered about it. What was the intention as to how to pronounce it? Are they receipts as to when the text has been read? Or are they receipts that send when you read the text and they're called read receipts or read receipts? Does anyone know the answer to this? Am I insane? Collecting things is largely rooted in evolutionary instincts, and it absolutely floods your brain with the feel-good neurochemicals in a way that isn't harmful or detrimental, except to your bank account maybe. You should find something you love and start collecting it. I collect GameCube games, gnomes, charging blocks. Ants take several hundred cute little baby naps throughout the day, and there is circumstantial evidence that they may be dreaming sometimes when they do. That's pretty cute. Ants are cool. If you're about to have a baby or you plan on having a baby sometime soon, the most common baby names in 2024 were Liam, Noah, Oliver, Theodore, and James for boys, and Olivia, Emma, Amelia, Charlotte, and Mia for girls. So if you're about to have a kid, name it something different, maybe, especially James. Surely there are enough James, right? Like, we're good on James. I'm sorry, James, but like maybe you should be the last James. So these next ones, I asked my group of closest friends, my friends from the Shergos, for their best life advice, and this is what they gave me. You have to learn to enjoy the journey and find balance in all aspects of life. Life is too short to not experiment sexually. When you buy a car, make sure the spare is still in there. Close the toilet seat when you flush a poop so you don't spray poop particles all over the room. If you shop along the perimeter of the grocery store, you'll eat healthier. If you smell yourself being stinky, that means everyone else has been smelling that already. Every time you leave a room, straighten up one little thing and then the house will never be messy. I love my friends, man. What a weird ass group of guys. I just learned this one definitively. So I'm not a car guy. I know a little bit, but not like a ton. And I mean, look at me, right? I'm not a car guy, okay? I could admit that. When you start to hear your brakes grinding, this is your brake pads telling you that it's time to get new brake pads. You can ride around like this for like a few days to a week at most, but go get new brake pads. And when you go to the mechanic, they'll tell you, yeah, well, you're gonna need new brake pads and rotors. Riding around like that for a few days, that's on the worn pads. It's a safety issue. We got a policy. We only do rotors and the brake pads at the same time. It's gonna be about $715. And you tell them, I don't want rotors. I'll take my chances with the rotors. If they say they have a policy where it's a safety issue and they have to replace the rotors with the pads, then go somewhere else. I got told by a mechanic at an allegedly reputable chain car place that my rotors were shot and that it would be $720 for pads and rotors with labor. Luckily, I'm broke. It's the first time I think I've ever said that. And I just couldn't afford it. So I went to another place and I told them, look, I know the rotors probably aren't perfect, but I'll just have to take my chances. Please just do the pads if you can. And he said, okay. It was $215. It took about an hour. And he came out and said, your rotors are totally fine. The other guy was bullshitting you. And I've been driving now for 3 weeks on them. No noise, no issues. Hashtag not all mechanics, right? But some of them are definitely lying to you. Brake pads only 2025. I'm gonna do a couple parenting ones. I've got a 3-year-old, and I'm pretty adamantly anti-technology myself, and Ez doesn't watch anything except some like old Pokemon Indigo League series DVDs on occasion, one like an episode at a time. But regardless, one thing you need to do as you raise your first child is play with them, like pretend play. Do the whole like, oh my gosh, I'm hurt, please help. Robin Dragon, no! Like that kind of shit with them. And the reason why is because if you do task-based play with your kids only, like if you know, oh, pretend to mow the grass or let's play baseball or whatever. Even if you're playing with them, you're teaching them that they have to know how to do what they're doing to have something to do. If you like only play catch or mow the grass or paint a picture or whatever, even though that's better than sitting them in front of an iPad by a million, you're setting yourself up for even more, Dad, I'm bored, play with me, than are inevitable otherwise. Playing pretend helps your kid learn to entertain themselves with nothing. We were in the car for like 45 minutes the other day, and the whole time we were driving, my son was playing with a string, telling himself a story about a wizard and a horse, and I think the horse was actually the one who could do magic? I don't know, but it seemed pretty cool. He's learning to have fun in a generative way, and not only in a task-based way, and both are important, but just make sure you play pretend with your kids. In keeping with the theme about kids, here's one more. If you never give your kid juice, they'll continue to drink water, and that's a habit that will serve them for the rest of their lives. Juice, even grape juice or apple juice or whatever, has so much sugar added to it. Or even in the rare juices that you can find that don't have added sugar, they still have a ton of naturally occurring sugar in them, and it costs money. There's no reason for them to drink juice, at least regularly. So don't introduce it as like a regular drink. Give them water, maybe sometimes milk, and then on very rare occasions as a treat, give them juice. But make water a staple from the jump, and then you won't have a Dr. Pepper kid, okay? I spent 5 years trying to kick my Dr. Pepper habit. It was harder than quitting nicotine. One more parenting one. Make your kid an email address, and every time they do something funny or you're feeling sentimental or you have some milestone, send them an email. And then when they're 18, give them the email address and the password. That way they'll have an accessible, organized, searchable scrapbook of their whole lives, and you'll reserve the best email address for them to make sure that they have first name, last name at Gmail instead of whatever email they make up in high school and then get stuck with forever. I am horrible with money, like horrible. The last few months have been better because my girlfriend made me open a second checking account. To be honest, I didn't even know that you could do this, but so now I put all of my money for my bills in the old checking account, and I pull out every dollar that is technically spendable and put it in the new one. And that way I don't accidentally spend money I need for bills, and it looks like I have way less money than I do, and it makes me a little bit less likely to spend money on like stupid shit in the first place. That one is probably super obvious for like most functional, 20-somethings, but I don't know. It was news to me. Go to therapy. Just go to therapy. I smoked cigarettes, like an idiot, from high school to halfway through college, and then quit cigs in lieu of vapes, and then quit vapes in lieu of Zen, and used Zen for about 3 years. I had, and still have, but am doing much better with anxiety, and I always thought that nicotine was keeping me sane and the only thing keeping me from like spiraling anxiously, and I always had heard that nicotine withdrawals can cause really bad anxiety, and so I was always afraid of quitting nicotine for good, and then I had a mental breakdown coming up on about a year ago now, my anniversary. And afterward, I just quit nicotine. Like, I just decided that I didn't use nicotine anymore. And guys, I have bad news, okay? It wasn't that hard. Like, it sucked. I mean, it sucked, but it wasn't that bad. Like, this portrayal of quitting nicotine as this deeply impossible thing, and the fact that there are patches and Chantix and entire cottage industries and hotlines dedicated to helping people quit nicotine is like kind of embarrassing. Like, obviously I'm being a little silly. I know that everyone is different and all that, and it is hard, and I'm, privileged to be who I am or whatever, and I, whatever. But I am like a huge weenie. Like I have a very addictive personality and a very low pain tolerance, and I am shooting 100% on quitting nicotine. Like, just quit. Like, just do it. There's no reason to be addicted to nicotine. It is so cringe. Vaping is so 2023. All my homies are addicted to love and friendship. This one's a little played out now, but I remember learning this and it blowing my mind, and maybe you haven't heard it yet. Cleopatra, the famous Egyptian queen, Cleopatra, lived closer in time to the iPhone than she did the first Egyptian pyramids being built. That's how long the Egyptian empire lasted. Honey is the only naturally occurring food that never spoils. You could eat 1,000-year-old honey. In fact, you might have, who knows? I have a horrible habit of trying to reckon with getting older by doubling my age and saying, oh man, I could live my whole life over again and still only be 58 or whatever. But I need help breaking that habit, because when I'm like 50, that's gonna stop working, and then holy shit, what am I gonna do? My average script length for my videos is about 4,000 words. My average video length is about 19 minutes. The average speaking speed is about 110 to 150 words per minute, which means that on average, if we take the low end of that for fun, 4,000 words for the average speaking speed is 36.36 minutes. But for me, it's about 19 minutes, which means I literally talk in these videos at a little under twice as fast as the low end of average conversational speech, and I'm so sorry to subject you guys to that. Male penguins propose to female penguins, with whom, if accepted, they will be monogamous for the rest of their lives. Just imagine a sweet little penguin in front of the mirror, fixing his hair, nervous about to ask his girlfriend to marry him, and his friends are like patting him on the shoulder like, come on man, you can do this. There's an Australian dude who has super blood, who's donated blood over 1,100 times because of how medically significant his blood is, and he is directly responsible for saving the lives of over 2.4 million children. His name is James Harrison. Samsung has to test the strength of their phones with a butt-shaped robot. It even wears jeans. This is why you're able to sit with your phone in your back pocket without breaking it, because of an ass robot. Life is just amazing. The original voice actors for Mickey and Minnie Mouse were married in real life. In all my philosophy classes, there remained one idea that stuck with me and that I'd like to share with you all right now. In truth, I don't know what I believe in exactly, but it was brought to my attention something that I think is really interesting. There are few laws of science, right? Most things are theoretical, and while theories in the field of science don't mean the same thing as theories in colloquial terms, laws are even more irrefutable than theories. And two of these few laws of physics are the conservation of mass and the conservation of energy, which state that both matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. The former is sort of fringely argued, but overwhelmingly it's held as irrefutable, and no one really refutes the law status of the latter at all. If these are laws, unbreakable, then it would stand to reason that something necessarily must exist, or at minimum have existed, which or whom was or is not bound by these laws, given that both matter and energy definitely were created, right? There are philosophical hypotheses as to reconciling this information, like the idea of the infinite causal chain of beings, which is a fun theory you could look into, or the idea of emergence from nothingness, which is another really cool one. But either way, I think this is the single most interesting, like, entry-level philosophical question to kind of toy with in your mind. How to reconcile that seeming fact that something had to have broken those laws of physics, and what the hell could that have been? I'd love to see what you guys think maybe in the comments. And for number 50, I wanted to leave you all with the thought that I've been thinking the most lately, and that is a thought that this is all just been absolutely insane. I've been making stuff and putting it on the internet for over 16 years now. Skits, articles, attempts at blogs, music and music videos, video essays for 16 years. And in this attempt, this creative endeavor of Shameless Nerd, in less than 6 months, we are approaching a community of almost 10,000. And it's all happened at once, and it has been so incredibly cool and magical and unthinkable to me. I've been waiting on this moment my entire conscious life. And you guys are literally making my dreams come true. And the coolest thing about this is that this community has almost wholly stayed positive and wholesome and thoughtful. I have had very few toxic, shit-ass comments on this channel. The Shameless Nerd comment section is one of the most engaged and engaging, positive, respectful, supportive comment sections I've ever seen. And I don't know why y'all are so great, but that's, I think, the thing that I'm most proud of so far for whatever role that I had in that. So thank you guys, truly. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. In today's post-video video, I want to talk about something that I think is really specifically annoying. A lot of the people on the internet are kids, and a lot of these kids who are chronically on the internet are kids who should probably be doing something else, and often something school-related, or they're in school while they're commenting on whatever YouTube video or Reddit post they're commenting on, and I know that intuitively, but one thing that I think is so incredibly short-sighted and misguided is discourse regarding secondary school students going to the bathroom, and how evil teachers are for policing the bathrooms in school, and how,
actually, teachers aren't allowed to tell you can't go to the bathroom, and my mom told me that if a teacher ever tells me that I can't go to the bathroom, then I'm allowed to light their house on fire and stalk them in the middle of the night until I find them and watch the life drain from their eyes by my own hands, stealing and feeding on their life force.
And I'm a teacher, okay? I love my students. If you've seen any of my videos, you can attest to the fact that I am the last teacher on the planet to take the side of the establishment over the side of the students. I always have their best interest in mind. I am on their side, etc. I promise you. And with that perspective in mind, I just want to tell you, whoever's watching this, be you an old man or be you a little kid, the entire conversation about the bathroom thing is stupid, and everyone involved does actually know they're full of shit. no pun intended, and that the entire thing is a joke. First of all, when you're in school, you should be in class as much as possible. That has to be the foundation of this conversation. The default place that you should be is the classroom. And it might seem insignificant to miss 6 minutes of class in the bathroom, but it's just not. Like, if a student goes to a bathroom during a lecture or presentation or whatever, that student is going to have a gap in whatever was covered in that 6 minutes. And what if, for example, as an English teacher, I'm going over theme for the first time, and I spend those specific 6 minutes explaining what a theme is, and this student in the bathroom misses it, and then they copy down the notes from a partner or whatever, but they don't understand it because nobody learns like that. Like, come on now. And then I spend the rest of the year building on theme, and it's one of the core principles in the class, and the student is shy and pretty competent otherwise, so A, they never come to me asking for remediation, and B, they do well on tests and assignments because of all their surrounding knowledge competency. And that student goes through the entire 7th grade without truly learning one of the core concepts taught in that grade. Obviously, this is one of the most extreme examples, and it's a little unrealistic because a lot of English curriculum is like cyclical, but you get the point. The other thing is that shit happens in the I didn't do that. Whatever. Shit happens in the bathroom. And in a school setting with hundreds of students, there is no way to avoid operating on averages. I teach at like a good middle demographic school. There's good diversity split between like white, black, Hispanic students, and socioeconomically our students are pretty firmly like lower to middle class kids, good kids, great kids. It's not a school with particularly problematic behaviors pretty often, but it's not a school of extreme privilege and insulation from like real world stuff, and I've heard some horror stories that some of our students have to go through. And this year alone, there has been vapes in the bathroom, weed in the bathroom, sex in the bathroom, fights in the bathroom, one resulting in a hospitalization, a student who for some reason was dared to shit on the floor in the bathroom and did, a kid that was lost for almost an hour before being found asleep on the bathroom floor, broken urinal dividing walls, a toilet pried off the ground, paper towel dispensers broken in half. The bathroom is a place whose attendance should be limited. It's the only place in a school where children can be unattended, and children like to do crazy shit because they're children. And the last thing is that you just don't have to go to the bathroom. You don't have to go to the bathroom. I am 29 years old, and I have not pissed in my pants since I was like 4. I've pooped in my pants a few times, and that's happened far more recently. It was due to a horrible diet and severe anxiety, but you just don't have to go to the bathroom right now. It's just not true. Students can go to the bathroom freely at lunch, at PE, in between classes, at break, during study hall. There is no real biological way that you cannot hold your piss in your body for the 52 minutes that we are in class right now. And if for some reason you really can't, I will be able to tell, because it will A, not be a student that asks me to go to the bathroom every single day who has a 64 in the class only because I give him credit for class discussion as a grade. B, not a student whose face I am seeing for the first time because she sleeps face down on her desk every day. C, a student who is doing the piss dance. And or D, a student who is visibly embarrassed and comes to tell me about some other issue that they're having or some reason why they have clinically a need to go to the bathroom. If you really have to go to the bathroom, you can see it on somebody's face. And if that's the case, I'll always let my students leave whatever we're doing to go to the bathroom. But to imply that there is an oppressive teacher class trying to torture students by forcing them to piss themselves at school every day and it's some sort of masochistic conspiracy is ridiculous. And I feel like we all actually know that, and I know that internet discourse is toxic just because, and everyone in middle and high school hates school or is a dork like me and wouldn't be on the internet commenting on Reddit posts in the first place. They'd be doing nerdy shit like homework or anyway, but I don't know. That's what the post video is for. This is just where I be getting shit off my chest, you feel me? Okay, love you guys. Have a good one.